Tag TV and Tag Radio be seen and heard by both technology users and technology producers throughout the state of Georgia and around the world. Low cost, big benefits, powerhouse online branded video and audio has arrived. Tag TV, Tag Radio, there's a lot more to know. This edition of Tech Talk is brought to you by GlobalSpeak.com, new media consultants, corporate video and audio communications, video and audio production and distribution, live and virtual event production. Tag TV and Tag Radio is a service of GlobalSpeak.com, creatively delivering powerful marketing, video, and audio solutions. This is a special news alert. Call to all Tag members. The technology community will gather in potentially record numbers at the 4th Annual High Tech Day at the Georgia Capitol next Wednesday, February 9th. Greetings, everyone. It's Thursday, February 3rd, 2011, and this is a special news alert edition of Tech Talk with Technology Association of Georgia President Tino Mantella. I'm your guest host, Frank Baia. That's right. This Wednesday, February 9th, the combined membership of TAG and members of Tech America are joining forces to gather in as large a number as possible to demonstrate both size and dedication in a united voice to make our state legislators aware of their concerns. Beyond an informative day, including a special VIP luncheon and panel, as well as face-to-face opportunities to meet with elected officials, it's a truly unique fellowship opportunity to celebrate the accomplishments and the technology industry leadership to be the job engine for Georgia's future growth. From an amazing 2010 legislative session filled with technology community-supported bills to the vision of a public-private comprehensive partnership plan to make Georgia one of the 5 technology leading states in the country, we gain insights and inspiration on the importance of your attendance at this year's High Tech Day at the Capitol from our TAG President, Tino Mantella. If you are a dedicated technology professional committed to our industry and our state's future economic growth, Tino has an important Tech Talk message for you right now. Well, Tino, it's the 4th Annual High Tech Day at the Capitol. It's coming up this February 9th. Why don't we start out by a little bit of history? When we talk about the 4th Annual, you've been now committed. I'll tell you one thing for sure. I can't go to a meeting anywhere just around the greater metropolitan area. I was up in Gwinnett talking to some people over in Cobb, and you hear so much now about what TAG is doing in terms of impacting the Capitol and basically legislation. But let's go back into a little bit about what you've been up to.
Well, history, first of all, I think some of our listeners will be interested in the history about all this. We, as a technology association or a trade association, didn't play in the legislative space statewide or on the federal level until my board chair and I took a trip to the Pittsburgh Technology Council. And most folks wouldn't see necessarily Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania as a hotbed for legislative leadership, but actually it's very strong in the technology space. And we talked to a number of leaders in the Pittsburgh community, bankers and investors and others, and we asked them what was important to them about the Pittsburgh Technology Council. And the number one thing that came back to us was this taking a leadership role in government relations, government affairs, and they had looked at their history and had a demonstrated impact that the Technology Council was having. So we came back to our board of directors at the time and said to them, we want to do this. And within a matter of 6 months, we had hired our first government relations director and began to make inroads into letting people know from our customers on the one side that we were in this in the game, and on the other side, letting legislators know that we were here. So that was our humble beginnings, and we've feel like we've come a long way. I'm glad to hear, Frank, that when you're out and about, people are recognizing that. We still have a long way to go, but we're making strides every year.
Now, I think some of these specific issues, angel investor tax credit, the public pension reform with the firefighters fund, e-textbooks, I mean, things that you don't necessarily directly correlate to the technology community, and yet they have indirect impact. Maybe go into some of the particulars that you've gotten into over the last couple of years and maybe some of the bills that you have impacted.
Well, you mentioned 3 key ones, and they're freshest on our mind because the governor signed all 3 of those bills last year, and we certainly had a lot of partners. So in this space, you don't do anything alone. But we feel like we were drivers of those three bills. And the angel tax credit, we're hopeful that that will get some investors off the sidelines with the opportunity to receive a tax credit for their investment. And the hope is that we can stimulate this angel investment economy, which will support our companies. And then the first thing we took on, I would say, was trying to get our state to be the 50th state, because all the 49 are already ahead of us in this case, but to look at state pension funds and allow a portion of the pension funds, we set up to 5%, to be invested in alternative investments. And that's been a sore subject for our technology community for a number of years, and many of our best people in stakeholders, I'll call them, in this area have fought to make something happen where our pension funds could be used for investment in alternative investments. Up until last year, we had not had any success. But last year, the firefighters were very interested in that. They saw that this was a great opportunity to be allowed. They don't have to do it, but at least to have that opportunity to be able to invest in alternative investments. And we ran that up the flagpole and got some great legislators to sign on to that and sponsor it, and that passed as well. And then the third piece that you mentioned was we all know, all our listeners know that the world is changing, and textbooks are great. There always will be a place for textbooks, I think, at least for the foreseeable future, but digital content's important, and our leadership was actually farsighted in the concept of digital content, and a few years ago they passed legislation that would allow our schools to have flexibility between the use of textbooks and digital content. What they didn't do was pass any sort of legislation that would allow for hardware or any kind of structural support for that digital content. So in other words, they had money available, $50 million roughly in the state of Georgia, and then more federal funds to decide whether they wanted textbooks or digital content, but they couldn't get a smart board or a computer or any kind of T1 lines or whatever they would need to drive that digital content. So that was, I guess if there's a no-brainer out there, that was one that everybody jumped on board, and we didn't have a whole lot of resistance for that one, and the governor signed that one as well. So it was a good year. We were 3 for 3 last year and things we led, and now we're off and running for this session.
Well, I know during this year's session, the state's technology community is supporting a bill sponsored by Senator Barry Loudermilk of Cassville. He's the chairman of the Senate Science and Technology Committee. I understand that would create a study commission to develop a strategic plan for science and technology in Georgia. That's great news.
Yeah, that's our number one issue this year, and we're very bullish on this issue. Just like any business, to be flying blind, if you will, without a strategy or a plan. Used to call it a roadmap, but now I think people like to say compass. I like to use that term because you have to be pretty fluid, but at least to have something out there that says, here's what our state, here's the direction we want to take in technology, and then you can put some resources behind that. And I'll give you an example. In past, our leadership oftentimes has gone after an issue or an opportunity that I would say was sexy, a very popular area, but we might not have really a leadership role in that area, and I'm talking about an industry vertical. And what we've been encouraging, and we have research that supports this, is focus on your clusters, focus on where Georgia leads. And Jack Walsh wouldn't go in when he was running GE and say, we're 50th in where a company standings on this, and let's go ahead and take it on, even though all these companies have been in it for years, had many more resources than GE does, but let's go for it because it's a new area. I mean, it's possible that happened, but generally, he said, if we're not number one or two, then we shouldn't be in it. And we didn't really follow that logic here in Georgia. And so we've identified areas like fintech and software and health IT, telecom, and some other areas. And
Internet security.
Internet security is another one. And
I think
the
key word
focus on those.
Key word is comprehensive plan. I honestly think that the fundamentals of economic development, they talk about magnify your clusters, either expand existing industries or attract new ones coming in with inbound investment, but not having a plan, not really focused, as you're pointing out, in terms of, say, the top 5 technology states in the country as a goal. Because I don't know how many of our listeners realize that we've actually lost some of our ranking over the years. I think we were like in the top 15, maybe 14th place or something like that back in 2000, 2002, and now we're 25th. And that's not a negative to a degree because, like you say, we lead in certain verticals, but it's where the opportunities are for new growth and expansion.
Right, and you're referencing the Millikan study that just came out, and we had dropped at one time, I think it was 2002, we were 14th, and now we're 25th. So we're right in the middle of the pack, and nobody wants to be in the middle of the pack. So we have all the potential in the world, but without a plan, you plan to fail, I heard once, and I think that's a true philosophy. And so we really want our state to step forward, and we're getting a lot of support for this, and that's, like I said, our top priority for the year, because that can lead to other initiatives in future years once we can harness the resources around certain things. We have limited resources, certainly with the economy the way it is today, so the state and organizations like TAG don't want to waste a dime or a nickel or a penny in respect to the direction that we're heading.
Well, and it's not an expense. It's an investment that we get a return on. We're talking about Georgia Capitol Day, February the 9th, the 4th Annual High Tech Day at the Capitol. This year's event is going to include a luncheon and a panel. Maybe go into what our listeners and members would expect if they attend.
Well, it's an all-day activity, but of course, like anything else with TAG, people don't have to come the entire day. We'd love for them to. And why should they come? Well, one is they're going to learn, and secondly is we need to demonstrate at the Capitol that we have a voice. And there's a lot of communities, if you will, that are stronger than we are. They've been in it longer, and there's more energy, more motivation to participate in such things as a community. So our technology community needs to stand up, get involved, and if we can show the legislators that we have 150 or 200 people in attendance at this event, we think that's an important aspect. And in addition, we've got a great lineup. So they can come to a luncheon, and we actually have a CIO roundtable luncheon that's going to be led by Senator John Elbers, who is in his own right a technology leader, and so he's going to be moderating a panel. And the panel consists of a couple of our board members, Brian Shield, who's EVP and CIO of the Weather Channel, and Todd Bell, who's going to be 2012 chairman of the board, and he's CIO of Verizon. And then we also have Sterling Wharton on the board from Georgia Department of Economic Development. He runs the Centers of Innovation, amongst a number of other things. So we have a great group. And then in the evening, we have a reception with cocktails and hors d'oeuvres, and a number of the legislators will be there, and we really want to show our prowess at that event. So we hope everybody will come to both of those events. 2011
High Tech Day at the Georgia Capitol. Is it Richie Johnson, our contact point?
Yeah, Richie, certainly they can go to the tagonline.org website or even Tag Think, and they can get information about this, and they can register online. Richie's doing a great job. He is our Director of Government and Community Affairs, and so he will be orchestrating this. And by the way, this is a TAG and Tech America event. So as you know, Frank, we're the franchisee, if you will, for Tech America. So they're a strong partner, especially when it comes to legislative issues. They have representatives in every state in the nation, and also a strong presence in D.C. So.
And I think our role is getting more active, if I'm correct. Did I hear that Richie's going to be going out to their national convention, their government relations?
Yeah, Richie is out there as this airs, and he will be bringing back lots of information, but as important, he'll be meeting with his counterparts from all over the nation. So that's important because if there's an issue that's taking place in our state and other states have had experience with it or are rallying around the same point that we are, there's some working together for common good and sharing best practices should be extremely helpful down the road. And there's information on our site as well that people can gather on a regular basis by signing up for one of the affinity groups like our breakfast series, or now we started a TAG Government Society. So there's a number of ways that people can get involved.
And companies can join Tech America through TAG and be part of the national voice that's going on. I think it's really important for our listeners and members to understand that TAG's now impact has gone far beyond Metro Atlanta, gone far beyond the state of Georgia, reaching out to the greater southeastern United States, and now is actually getting involved in having a voice or a seat at the table on a national basis with its relationship with Tech America. So lots of great things are happening in that area. One more time, it's High Tech Day at Capitol. It's going to be February the 9th. It's the 4th annual. As Tino brings it to a point, I think it's critically important that you know and understand some of the issues that are concerns to the technology community, but equally as important is to show legislators that we do have a strong and solid group of people that are advocates and in support of the community's initiatives. Tino, as always, thank you. It's always a pleasure and a pride to be able to play the role of your seat on these interviews when we get a chance to talk about events that are going on in TAG. So thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to visit with your Tech Talk.
Well, thanks, Frank. It's great to be on. It's great to be on the other side of the radio, if you will, and everybody should come to this High Tech Day and be part of it.